Thank you all for being here and for having me. It is such an honor. Um, I'm really excited to be in this race, and I'm really excited to be in it because I am not one of the people that is backed by the billionaire corporations and that money that has absolutely no place in our education system. But I am endorsed by the Denver Classroom Teachers Association, the Colorado Education Association, and many other amazing unions that are just great, hardworking people, and so I'm really proud to be standing in front of you with those endorsements. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but most importantly, I'd love to hear what you're all thinking about, what's important to you in terms of education, and what you want to see in our Denver school district and from our board. So I am the proud mom of two DPS students. I have a 4-year-old and I have a 9-year-old. And I have done many things in my career. I have worked as an advocate for education. I've worked for organizations like Head Start and the LA Public Schools. And then I've also worked in an organization that was focused on keeping the arts in Title I schools. So they receive funding from grants and from wealthy people, and then they would go in and offer all of the arts programs for any school that had lost funding. And from there, I just am a very passionate person who loves to solve big problems, and I became the founder and CEO of two not technology companies. One was a technology company. The first was just an education company, and the second one was an education technology company. So the first company I started was focused on helping families navigate the early years of life. So 0 to 3, when parents so often feel really, really lost. They don't know how to connect with their child. They know that all these things they're supposed to be doing for healthy brain development, but they don't always know how to put that into practice, and it's a really stressful time. So we created a curriculum that also offered parents toys and books and all different kinds of things that help them engage with their kids, along with just amazing things that they could collect around their house, because we wanted it to be accessible for everyone, regardless of their background. And coming from the background, when I was doing advocacy work, I also worked in the media business. So I worked in Hollywood with lots of people with influence doing that advocacy work. And so people were constantly pushing me to create a media version to my company. And so we did. We started creating videos that helped people engage with their kids. And then all of a sudden, this crazy thing happened where COVID hit. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is an incredible opportunity. I have an amazing team of technology people, of media builders, and I decided that we needed to create. I was listening to the community, and I kept on hearing, online school is just so hard for kids in K through 8 or K through 5. They don't know how to just sit in front of a screen and do work. And so we had a hypothesis that if we created a screen time experience that pulled kids out of the screen and got them engaging in their physical world, and the screen was just a conduit, that maybe we could create a healthy screen time experience. And so that's what we did. And it became a global company. I raised millions and millions of dollars for my company. And while I was doing that, I was offering it for free to every single person around the world, because I wanted every child to have access to a great education. So coming out of the pandemic, I got a lot of pressure to make a lot of money back for all the people that had put money into my organization. No one that's hurting for money, do not worry. These are people that have plenty of money. And also we couldn't find the right product for the market coming out of COVID. So it was a hard time of feeling a lot of pressure from outside investors that I didn't really agree with their motives. And it was a really hard time because we were having trouble finding what the market actually wanted out of this new age of technology. And so I was feeling really frustrated, and I had kind of lost my heart, which is in building policy, in helping people, in connecting with kids. And so I went and I became a special ed paraprofessional because I saw how many kids in our community were struggling, how many kids didn't have the resources that they needed, and how many teachers were telling me that their caseloads were too big, their classrooms were too large, they didn't have resources to meet kids where they were, and that they needed great people to come in and do the hard work. And that's who I am. I roll up my sleeves and I do the hard work. So I went to work as a special ed paraprofessional with some of the most vulnerable kids in our district. And I saw firsthand what an experience that is. I have a whole newfound respect for educators in a way that I never imagined. The pure joy that you experience, the heartache that you experience, the frustration, and the breakthroughs. And I just saw that I had such a strong voice beyond the classroom. And so I started telling people, hey, I think maybe, in 2027, when I'm prepared, by the way, this is a fun statistic. Men only need to be 30% prepared to do something. Guess how prepared women need to be to do something? Guesses? Sure, 60 is the right answer, supposedly, but I agree with you, 120. So, I was like, in 2027, when I'm ready, when I'm prepared. And so some folks from the union came to me and they were like, no, we cannot wait till 2027. We need you now. And so I said, okay, I've never been ready for anything I've ever done in my life. And somehow I've always landed on my feet. So let's do this. And I decided, I think in May, to run. And it's been a wild journey of collecting lots and lots of endorsements, talking to lots and lots of folks, outraising my opponent with generous dollars from folks that I know and also the community that I've now connected with. He will have way more money because he'll be taking billionaire money, but I have grassroots outraised him. And so it's really exciting. And we are building tremendous momentum. And the reason I am doing this is because I believe every single student deserves a great neighborhood school. I believe that every community needs that. Every child should be able to walk to their local school. Every parent should feel really great about putting their kid in that school. And we need to take care of our teachers. We need to pay them their fair wages. We need them to be able to live in the neighborhoods they're teaching in. They need smaller class sizes and they need real resources. That's how we make change. That's how we actually serve every single one of our students in an equitable way. And lastly, we need to be making sure that we are creating environments where, hey Bryce, I'm really sorry, but my bag is over there and I'm wondering if she wants to sit with. Thank you. Okay, I'm so sorry. Bryce is my campaign manager, and I realized my bag was on a chair where somebody might want to sit. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had a place to sit. Anyway, and so finally, we really need to be making sure that we have environments that are safe and that are future ready so that we are protecting our kids and that we are preparing them for the future. Because we know right now the world is looking very different than it did. And every day it's changing. And so that is an expertise I bring. I understand how to create technology that is a positive influence, that doesn't replace critical thinking, that doesn't replace teachers, but enhances the learning experience. And as a parent, I also know how incredibly important it is to know that my kids are safe every day. Every parent I talk to just wants to know that their child is getting a wonderful education at a school that is safe, because we all want our kids to succeed. And I'm sure for those of you who have worked in schools, you know that. For those of you who have children and grandchildren, you know that that's what this is all about. And so I am fighting for equity in our system. I am fighting to make sure that we take care of every single student. And I am fighting for the communities of all of Denver. That is such a big deal to me. And the way I do that is by being an active listener constantly, by engaging with communities constantly, and by listening and showing up to the table when I'm making policy to represent all of those voices. And that's my job. And I'm really, really excited to be on the ballot. And I hope it's a success. Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, we got a full page ad. I didn't get a full page ad. What? This is my dear friend DJ Torres, Dr. DJ Torres, and he's not here with us. I mean, he's here with us, but not here with us. Anyway, yeah, he teaches. He's amazing. So he is teaching currently. Not he's teaching at the graduate level for people who want to be teachers. And DJ is somebody that I admire so much. When I entered this race, he's the first person that I met. And he has been just a beacon of light for me in giving me a lot of courage to have the voice. He's a person who uplifts women's voices, and he is truly amazing. So he shares most of my values. I'm going to go ahead and say he shares all of my values. And we are running on a slate together. We are both endorsed by the Denver Classroom Teachers Association. So he will be on your ballot. He's in District 3 and is an incredible person, incredible educator. A dad. He'll be the first openly gay person on the board, and he is just wonderful. And I'm really proud to be running with him. Dr. DJ Torres. Yeah. Of course. So it's Torres, and the first name is D as in dog and J as in Jack.
It's in the Windsor Gardens Life this month.
He's going to be there tomorrow?
He's going to be here Friday from 11 to noon in the Aspen Room in the auditorium. Above the auditorium.
Aspen Room above the auditorium at what time on Friday? 11 to noon on Friday. I can't promise that. Although I will personally invite you all. I am actually, a dear friend of mine is hosting an event for educators, and I've been told there's going to be a keg there. So you all are invited. Bryce will give you the information. Do you want him to announce it? Oh, no, I'm joking, but you're all invited.
Well, I could get us started with a question since nobody has their hand up. Do you know that a large number of children have dyslexia? I think the number might even be as high as 15%. And on the DPS website, it says that they address that they help it. But honestly, my personal experience with the dyslexic granddaughter, what they do is give the kid extra time on tests. That is not enough help. And if you were to take on a project like more help for dyslexic kids, you'd be helping a large number of kids. So I wanted to bring it to your attention that I think it's a little under taken care of.
For sure. And so I do know that there was a policy written around offering supports to kids with dyslexia. I am not completely well read on that specific policy. But what I will tell you from talking to people in the community and what I will tell you as an educator in a school, once this policy has been written, yes, there are things like extra time to testing, but at the end of the day, that does not help children learn to overcome, learn to live with, learn to navigate. I grew up with a learning disability, different than dyslexia. But what I know is that when children are given the tools and when children are given the extra supports and the mentorship and the help that they need, they can overcome and they can succeed in anything they set their mind to. And so anything that is perceived as a disability, in my mind, is also a superpower. And so we have to get more special education paraprofessionals that are qualified into buildings. And the way we do that is by paying them what they deserve to be paid. I could barely live off of what I was making as a special ed paraprofessional. I am fortunate enough to have a husband, to have a partner who is able to, help our family, but not everyone is that lucky, and that should not be a barrier ever. It should not be a barrier. My friends had to work multiple jobs to make ends meet, and that is not what we need when we are talking about people with our students. So I will fight very, very hard to increase the pay for not only our educators and our teachers, but also for our special ed paraprofessionals and our paraprofessionals that support in the classrooms, because they also do an amazing amount of work. We need more reading specialists. We need more people who are specialized in all different kinds of disabilities, so that we can really help our kids thrive, because our kids are amazingly resilient and they know how to navigate the system. They just need the support. And so I will do everything in my power to make that happen. You guys are such an easy crowd.
I'd like to make it.
Good, thank you. I'd like to make a pitch for civics education. Education is not just a private good, not just a consumer good. There are a lot of people who have an interest in saying we need to have reading and writing and arithmetic and STEM and financial literacy. But as the Democratic Club, we should know, put it this way, Donald Trump's biggest support came from stupid old white men. Okay, I'm a white man, but stupid is my term for the non-college educated. That's where one of his highest demographics is. You shouldn't have to go to college to see through Trump. And so it's important for us, because we're not a special interest, but citizens, public interest, we need to educate people for democracy. We don't have to tell them what to think, but how to tell the difference between public service and just, I'm a fan of the guy. And so you don't hear this very often from school board candidates. So I want to make that a pitch. And I thought about that because I worked in the schools in clerical positions, in Skinner Middle School and Manual High School before busing. And so I'm all into doing what's best for kids. But at your level, we have to also look at the public interest and not just budgets. And we really do make curriculum decisions. It's not the State Board of Education has a great set of guidelines, but you're the ones who actually adopt them or not. And I think it's important we have people who advocate for appropriate civics education, kind of social studies at various levels, but also, when I went to high school, I didn't really learn that much until I was a senior, and it was not a required class, U.S. government. And that was the first thing that really taught me something about government. Till then, it was like learning names of cities and states kind of feeling, but, So I think that's the pitch I want to make.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you so much for your service to our students. I love that. I've recently been thinking a lot about the history of education, because like all history, it also repeats itself. And so I've been thinking a lot about how our education system was founded, and like going all the way back to colonial times. And, that was a big piece of it. When we thought about that, it was a place for the children to go during the day so that, that people could work and people could do what they needed to do, and we could build community. But it was also a place where students learned what it meant to be a member of society, what it meant to be a contributor. They learned traits, they learned all different kinds of things. And so I think that's incredible. And I think that, it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with how are we good civic leaders, and what does that mean? And it doesn't matter if you believe one thing or the other thing. It's your duty as a citizen. What do we need to do? And I think that's a beautiful thing for our kids to learn, and I absolutely support that. Yeah.
I'd just like to amend or add to that in addition to civics, in today's world, kids need to learn media literacy, how to look through, to understand the sources of the information they're getting, how to judge whether or not it's legitimate, how to look through the quote unquote BS versus the facts. And I think that should be actually a class that they teach.
Yeah, and I think we have to start it at the elementary school level. We cannot wait. It starts with critical thinking at the youngest ages, and we build from there. But I think your point of like being very clear, if you are going to be in front of a screen, if you are going to be using any type of media, you must be able to judge whether it is real or not, and to question it. And I think critical thinking is going to be hugely important as we move. I mean, it's always been important, but now more than ever, it is going to be the thing that propels us forward. I know you had a question.
I would like to just comment.
Here, let me bring you.
As a retired English language arts teacher, I want to assure you that is happening in the schools, in language arts departments. In middle school, for example, we study quite a bit throughout the entire year, databases and how to find something valid and whether to use different modalities and different senses through. So that is being done in the schools. I do have a question, and I don't know if this is what your position as a school board member attacks, but back in either the 90s or the 2000s, when we first were bringing in gambling into the state and the lottery into the state, Colorado students were receiving, let's just say, $7,000 a student. I'm sorry? Okay. Students were receiving from the state something like $8,000 or $9,000 each. So when the Gambling Association came into Colorado, they said, oh, well, if you vote for this, we're going to give all our a certain percentage of proceeds to the schools. And so everyone voted for it. I'm sure most of you did, because it was a great idea. Well, the Colorado legislature said, oh, you're getting this extra money from another source? Well, we're going to take that amount of money back. And so we continue to lose funds for students. We're like 48th in the state with funding. So is there some way you can address that?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened.
Our state representative, Sean Camacho, is here.
Oh,
He's been very involved in budget matters. And
We-
he can-
we know each other. Hi, Sean. It's nice to see you again. Would you like to come up here and answer this question with me?
Do you want him to do it now, or?
We can, it's up to you. I'm always welcome collaboration.
Okay, we got several questions back here, though.
Okay, all right.
Just a comment. NPR had a show on yesterday on the how to evaluate AI, and I would encourage everybody to go online and get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, NPR had a program yesterday afternoon on how to evaluate AI and what are some things you can look for to say whether it's authentic or not. I would encourage everybody to look at that show.
Thank you for that.
I love that question, and I think I might be working on something on that this year. So more to follow.
I have a question. The things that we're asking you tonight, is there a way that we can send those questions to the school board so that we're not just getting your opinion, that they will be aware of it?
Sure. So the way it works right now is there are 7 seats on the school board. There are 5 districts and then 2 at-large seats. So currently there are 4 seats up for election right now. So one is an at-large seat. That's the one that I'm running for. And there's no incumbent in that race. It's just me and another gentleman running for that seat. Then there is District 3, which is your district, where there are 3 candidates running. DJ is one of them. There's District 4, where there are 4 people running, including 1 incumbent. So I think that covers, and 2, District 2, which has 1 incumbent and 1 new person. So there have been many forums where we have all been present And we can absolutely get you the link to that. I can share the links to all of them. That's easy to do, so you can watch them and you can see how candidates respond. In terms of the 3 other seats that are not up on the board, you can email them anytime. Their emails are all on the Denver Public Schools board page, and you can email them any questions you want.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
Good evening. Can
Good
you hear
evening.
me? Yeah.
Sure can.
I'm a former teacher with Denver Public Schools and Berkeley Unified School District. And some of the things that you are proposing, I've heard before. Nothing has happened in terms of class size, in terms of curriculum, in terms of increasing the teacher load, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, how do you propose to go forward with some of your thoughts and ideas that have already been presented years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for your service. And thank you for the question. It is something that's also extremely frustrating for me. Part of the problem and part of the issue is just what we have experienced as a district. We have a history that is very complicated with race, and then with the reform movement and the privatization of our school district. That means including introducing charter schools and innovation schools, which I'm happy to explain further if there are questions about it, but which has left us really divided. And honestly, that's what I see. I see a city that is divided. And I see a city that is not delivering to students in the far northeast and students in the southwest, predominantly areas of color. And it is because we have allowed this to happen over and over and over again. And the way we stop it is by working with what we have, by investing in the schools that we have and making sure that we have a great neighborhood school for every kid. And I know I am just answering this for you as a politician, because at the end of the day, what is going to have to happen is we are going to have to be in community. And we are going to have to listen extremely hard. And we are going to have to hear the hard truths that people are facing. And then we are going to have to make policy that reflects what communities feel will help them get there. Because we have gone too far at this point. And now we have to really bring it back in. And it's going to cost a lot of money. As Deb mentioned, we are 48th in per pupil funding. We have our hands tied because of Tabor. I will fight as hard as I can to talk with my colleagues about how we can reform Tabor law, how we can, push to really think about how we repeal the pieces that affect education directly. I will fight to, say we've got to stop spending money on lawsuits. We've got to be preparing our communities, and we have to get out of this vicious cycle that we're in. But it is certainly not going to just be me. It's going to need to take the voice of every single person on the board, and it is going to need to take community engagement. But I will be there. I will be in the community, and I will be working my tail off to help find the solution, and then I will show up and write policy that reflects what our communities need. And I hope to you in 4 years when I'm standing here talking about my reelection and getting your advice and hearing where I have done what I promised to do and where maybe I can improve, because I'm always open for feedback. I hope that you can look at me and say, wow, you really did something about this. But it's a really hard problem to solve, but we can do it.
What was the 2 top questions that you all received in your forum?
Well, everyone wants to know what your stance on charter schools is. That's what everyone wants to know. So I think I just kind of said it a bit. We're in a situation now, and 1/4 of our students, 1 in 4 students, goes to a charter school. So they are part of our community, and we owe those families and those students a great education. So we have to work with what we've got, but we need to hold every single school accountable. We need to demand transparency. We need to make sure that every single school, regardless of the type of school, is hiring great educators who are actually trained educators. We need to make sure that those educators have collective bargaining rights so that they can have, all the things that they deserve. And so I will fight really, really hard to make sure that all of our schools are on a level playing field when it comes to accountability and transparency. And that's how I feel about that piece of it. I think the other question that keeps on coming up is I'm going to say probably safety is the next, and how we feel about school resource officers. So when we look at what's going on in the world, first of all, we need to have stricter gun laws. I'll come talk to you about that later. Anyway, we need to have stricter gun laws. I think most people agree with that. And then, when it comes to actually what we can do at our schools, we know that having really strong mental health supports, smaller class sizes, and identifying problems before they arise is what is actually going to change and break this cycle. When I'm out talking to the community, and it really doesn't matter what community I'm in, I can be in Montbello, I can be in Central Park, I can be in Park Hill, I can be in Wash Park. Every single family says to me, we want SROs in the school. And that's a tricky one because we do not want to police our students. So I believe there's a happy medium. I think we can have SROs in our schools where they are part of the community, where they reflect the values of the community, where they are mentors, where they are trained in restorative practices, and they are not there to police. But we have to have really, really clear outlines of what SROs are allowed to do and not do, because we have to stop the school to prison pipeline. It cannot continue. So that's how I tackle safety. And I know that we can do it if we all work together.
I'm going to scoot over here. Can I scoot past you?
I think there's a question.
I have more of a comment. My daughter went through 4 years of free college tuition in New Mexico under the lottery scholarship. So I know it's doable, and just wonder, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, maybe see how New Mexico accomplished this. It was tremendous for her not having student debt.
Yeah, again, this is kind of out of my jurisdiction, but I'm going to say that that probably has something to do with Tabor.
Oh, Sally? Here, let's get Sally. Steve, hold on.
I would like to make a couple of comments. When my nephew was little, my brother belonged to a club, and he said, all you have to do is tell him who you are, and you can get anything you want to eat. And my brother's like, there's a bill at the end of the month. And I think we need to educate kids on how they're going to manage their money when they get out of school so that they aren't in debt. And also, having all these new medical issues, we need to let kids know that they could become a respiratory therapist, or there's other careers that they could do.
I love that. I think those are wonderful ideas. I think that we, working with DALF, I'm endorsed by the Denver Area Labor Federation, and they do tremendous work with apprenticeships. I know that's not exactly what you're talking about, but I think making sure that all of our students know that there's a path for them, that is super important. And I also agree with financial literacy. It's extremely important. I have a 9-year-old that I'm trying to explain that to you right now.
So I wanted to say that we do a No Kings protest. Maybe we should do a No Tabor protest.
Now we're talking. And I'm trying to sit down, so this is Amy's time, and I don't want to take it. But I want to address your question about financial literacy, and I come with good news. Last year, my colleague, Rep. Bacon, and some other folks sponsored a bill that required high school students to have financial literacy before leaving school. So they understand how to balance a checkbook, how to make payments, how to do smart things when you go to the grocery store, how to what does a 401k look like and what does it do? So I was proud to co-sponsor that bill. It was signed by the governor at Montbello High School over the summer with a package of 4 other DPS bills. So your wishes come true.
Magic. Thank you for that. It's incredibly important.
I would like to know, is DFER still active? And if so, you should explain the difference between Democrats and Democrats for Educational Reform.
Okay, that's a complicated one. So there's something called Denver Families Action, who is they're an organization that funds campaigns for folks who are part of the reform movement. I am not one of those candidates. Is that good enough for you? Okay.
Oh, here we, oh, how fast I can.
What are some of the conflicts that go on with the board? And two, isn't civics a required class in all DPS schools?
Not tested.
It's not tested.
Oh, it is in other
As far
school
as I
districts.
know, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe that it is tested at DPS.
Well, I think they've changed that now, but for a long time it wasn't tested. And often your civics teachers were your athletic directors because nobody really cared what the outcome was. There's government, I don't know the whole gamut of classes, so I'm happy to get back to you on it for sure.
I can look it up.
And also I don't know at what level. I know at high school level, there
High
are
school.
government classes. There are different civics classes that you can take that go deep into different areas. But it, again, depends on the high school you're at. And so that is part of this problem, is that we do not have a system that is consistently equitable and that is consistent. Because when you go to schools that are, just trying to get by with the bare minimum, they cannot offer all of these classes, where if you go to a school that is, busting at the seams and thriving and raising so much money from their PTO and all the other things, they're able to introduce these classes. So it's a question of equity, and I think that is something that is super interesting. And we can, there are ways to pass bills. There's a bill around teaching kids about the Holocaust and hate. There's a bill around financial literacy. There are opportunities for us to do that at the state level, and we should absolutely push for it.
I was a teacher. I taught English at the high school level for 20 years, and I was a high school counselor for 20 years, so I did 40 years in education.
Amazing,
in
thank you.
public schools.
What district were you in?
I was in the Thompson School District up north, where it is required to take civics. I also taught in the Windsor School District for a while, where it was required to take civics. So this is unusual for me to hear this. But so what are some of the common conflicts that the school board has? That you could.
That is a loaded question.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know how to answer that one. I will say this. I will say that our current board has really made an effort to come together and to work as a collective 7. There were times where there was a lot of dysfunction on the board, and that seems to have died down. And now it really seems like folks are working together. We still have this issue of those who are focused on the reform movement and those who are focused on keeping our schools under a district-run kind of portfolio. And so I think for me, that's my opinion as a mom who has watched the board meetings and gone to board meetings, is I find that we are not uniting around the common good of our kids. And for me, that's it. What serves our students? I don't care what's going to make someone money. I don't care, if it mostly comes down to how we're going to make money. For me, it is just what decisions are we making and what is in the best interest of our students. And so that will guide me. I think for the most part, that is what guides most of the board members. I can only, speak for myself. But I've been really impressed in watching our board become more collaborative. And I think that with this group that is up, especially those who I'm on a slate with, I'm really excited about where we might be able to take that collaboration in the future. Okay, I will turn it over.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.